Okay, hi. This is MJT's Prog Rock Plus, and as I said in the details about this YouTube channel, it's generally Prog Rock Plus, and this is the plus bit. The plus, a conversation on beer or a conversation on Wycombe Wanderers. Well, with the decision in League One just recently, it means this is about Wycombe Wanderers and being placed third in the league and in the playoffs. I don't think Peterborough are very happy. The other teams that aren't very happy are, well, the other team is Tranmere, who get relegated along with Southend and Bolton. Coventry go up along with Rotherham, who are only 3 points, well, 2 points and 3 points above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other teams. So they're probably very happy. Here with me is my son, who's been coming to watch Wycombe Wanderers for an awful long time, and I'm going to ask him a few questions as well, like everybody voting for themselves. Do you think that's a complete farce as to how to finish the season?
Well, just one thing. I've just got a notification on my phone saying that the Bolton manager has just left. So,
Has he? Right.
yeah, there's
Well,
that.
Bolton were probably down anyway, but
Bolton will probably disband by the way they're going, to be honest. Or they'll do a Portsmouth and try and gradually make their way up. But in terms of teams voting for themselves, I think I don't think that they should be making the decisions. It should be the EFL. They're the ones who are in charge. They're the ones who are in charge of the league. And the club should be able to voice their opinion. That's what, the people at the top are there for. But I don't think that the club's voting on it should be how it works, because this is why it's taken so long. In terms of, there have been a few clubs who, we won't name names, obviously, I think people will know, but there have been a few clubs who will have said, oh no, we should carry on, or I don't like the way that the points per game is happening. But yeah, I don't think the clubs should be making the final decisions. It should be the EFL or the Premier League or whoever's in charge. It shouldn't be individual clubs voting for things. Although in saying that, that's how, politics works and everything. So
I'll come to the points per game system and the complaints about that in a minute. I think it's quite interesting to look at who had what games left, etc., etc. Because there's one particular team who've been going on about how they had such an easy run through, there wouldn't have been any problem them coming top. The problem with carrying on the season was it was going to cost Wycombe at least £150,000. No, sorry, that's how much it's going to cost Wycombe to go into the playoffs alone. It's going to cost £1.5 million to carry on the season. There is no way lots of those teams could afford it. And I don't know whether one or two teams who wanted to carry on the season think it's okay so they could get in the playoffs. So some of these teams have to break up and pack up. I don't know whether they think that's okay. I don't know about you.
Well, of course not. I mean, they were mainly saying, oh, it is safe to play. They didn't really take in the financial aspect to it, did they? I don't know, Peterborough, for example, they kept saying, oh, no, it's safe to play. If the Premier League can do it, then all the teams should be able to do it. But reminder that most of these clubs don't have the sort of money that they do. So it's pretty self-explanatory. I think that the league wasn't going to continue. No. But Premier League, fine. Yeah, they've all got money. League 1 and 2, not a chance.
And do you think the EFL took far too long to come out with any decisions?
I think they wouldn't have been able to play the matches until the round now anyway, seeing as all the leagues apart from the German Bundesliga are around about starting now, Spanish and Serie A, etc. But in terms of making the actual decision, it's left a lot of things in the air, like people don't know what's going on, clubs don't know what's happening, clubs don't know whether to train or not. So yeah, I mean, it did take too long, but in the end, I think they've made the right decision.
Just to explain to people, the reason why it's going to cost £1.5 million to have actually finished the league is because, and why it's costing 150,000 just to play the playoffs for Wycombe, is because they have to come out of furlough, and Wycombe have got to start paying all their players, etc. And of course, they're not getting any money for crowd. And in fact, they get hardly anything off the TV money. Nobody's that interested in this. And so it costs little teams a lot of money. I mean, I think teams like Sunderland, etc., could afford it. But the little teams, well, like Fleetwood, like Wycombe, and also like Accrington, Stanley, etc., these little teams, if you want to get rid of them, then great, let's play on. But do you really want to get rid of them? I don't know.
It's quite a good story, actually, isn't it? That we're playing Fleetwood.
I
That
think
one of us is going to get to the final, because like Fleetwood were non-league about 5 seasons ago or whatever it was. We shouldn't be anywhere where we are.
Isn't this down to predictions? Surely the prediction at the beginning, this is another thing that came up about looking at who we're playing home and away, and can't you see we were going to do so well? Doesn't this also show how predictions, well, surely Fleetwood, Wycombe and Accrington were on their way out on predictions, whereas in fact you've got Wycombe and Fleetwood in the playoffs, and Accrington actually came, just having a quick look where they came in the league, they came 17th. And so none of the three that were predicted, I think they were predicted, Fleetwood, but none of these teams who were expected to go out and down are near it. And I think that's the problem with your predictions. And also with predictions, we spent 34 weeks in the top 6.
Yeah.
I mean,
the only week we won in it was the final one, because we hadn't played a match.
That's right. That is exactly it. So, what about teams like Tranmere? So, I mean, do we do this points per game, sorry, and is it okay for Tranmere to go down?
In normal circumstances, no, but we're not in normal circumstances, I'm afraid. I don't think Bolton and Southend are causing that much of a fuss, to be fair. Neither are Tranmere, to be fair. They're not causing that much of a fuss, but I think in terms of getting the leagues done and making sure that it can all carry on as the way it was before, I think that is what kind of has to happen, realistically. They may well have gone down anyway. I don't think the only one I would say you shouldn't do that is if a League 2 team went down from League 2 to non-league, because I think that does have a ridiculous impact on teams. I don't think they're doing that.
The trouble with Tranmere is they did win their last 3 matches.
Yeah, but we've lost like our last however many. Wycombe were an awful form, and yet we still come third.
You say that, but Peterborough in their last 3 matches have won 1, lost 1 and drawn 1. Wycombe actually won 2 of their last 3. Now I was going to discuss this. Why do you think Peterborough are making such a fuss? Is it because they're trying to get a rivalry up and get them raring to go for next year? Or do you think they really do think they've been hard done by? Because you don't hear so much from Sunderland.
I don't think they think they've been hard done by. I think it's they've got a big club mentality, when I don't think they're that big a club compared with a lot of teams.
Sunderland?
They're not bigger than Sunderland. Like, Sunderland shouldn't be where they are. But Peterborough aren't going to be Premier League level, and they're desperate to get to the Championship. At best, they're lower league of the Championship. But I don't. And of course, they're interested.
1 or 2 comments.
No, I know, but of course they're interested in the financial aspect, and anyone would. Like Wycombe, we'd be absolutely laughing if we got to the Championship. Like,
Well, we would be
that sort
laughing. We'd
that'd
certainly
be-
see a lot of goals, would we?
yeah, well, that would sort us out for the next, 10 years just for the money from the Championship. Notice how we're always going to the money with all of this football. It's great,
Sad,
isn't
isn't it?
But I don't blame them for kicking up a fuss. Like, we probably would be too.
'Cause
However,
I did have a look. I did have a look at this at their what games they had left, because they've been going on and on about what games they had left. If we look at what games they had left and what games Wycombe had left, they'd got 2 teams to play in the top 8. We'd got 2 teams to play in the top 8. They were playing those teams away. We were playing those teams at home. They'd got 2 teams in the bottom 4. We'd got 2 teams to play in the bottom 4. And then in the middle, in the 10 in the middle, we'd got the same. Well, we've got 1 more. So I don't see what the difference is. In fact, I think there's no difference. Their form is no better than Wycombe's. Their season certainly hasn't been any better. That's why they're on the same amount of points. Because
I think, unfortunately, at this stage, they can't go and say, they can't use predictions as a way of bettering against someone else. Unfortunately, because we want to finish the season, that's the whole point of football. We want to play as many matches as possible. But in these circumstances, you can't. And so you just have to accept where you've gotten up to. And if it is points per game and you lose out by that much, then it's going to be one of those stories that you just have to kind of deal with.
In the present situation, was there any alternative to what we've got?
No, quite frankly. The fact that the playoffs are happening, I'm a little bit surprised. Like, I thought that what would happen to begin with. I understand the playoffs happening now, seeing how much lockdown has changed. But I thought it was just going to be that we would go up because we had the 3rd highest points per game.
Right.
I'm a little bit surprised by that. But no, there's nothing else. Like you can't say based on home and away points. It's just not a thing. And I think we're probably better. Actually, no, we're not. We've got a lot more points at home. But it's just like you can't. There's no there's an argument if home and away actually makes too much of a difference. Some people say it does. Some people say it doesn't. I personally think it makes a huge difference and it's helped us a lot. But you can't say, it's subjective. It is subjective.
I mean, take Sunderland. I mean, we've played the last 4 games against Sunderland. We lost 1, didn't we? I think.
Probably.
Did we win 1, draw 2, lose 1, I think?
That sounds about
right.
I
mean, if you were going to predict anything, I mean, when we've played Sunderland, it's been like playing an FA Cup game for Wycombe. I mean, playing Sunderland, wow. Playing Portsmouth, playing Ipswich, Coventry. I mean, they're almost out of our league, or it seems so.
Well, they pretty much are.
And yet, we've surprised ourselves on how good we've been. I think we're certainly higher than I expected, but I think because of that, I actually now believe that we can go up. I see no reason we can't beat these teams.
I think tactically we can,
Yeah. So, Gareth Ainsworth.
Actually, sorry, one more thing is, you said, is there any other way you could do it? If it is that they ended up on the same points per game, I don't know now. I was going to say you could do it based on how the teams played against each other, because they do that in the Champions League after the goal difference, I think, and the World Cup and stuff. So that could have been an option, but I think that would have been a bit complicated still.
Yeah.
So that's the only other one I could think of.
I must admit, Coventry clearly needed to go up.
Yeah.
After that, well, Rotherham, Wycombe, Oxford, Portsmouth, Fleetwood, Peterborough, Sunderland. If you're not in the playoffs, then you did have 35 games
to get there. Yeah.
And if you're no more than a point away from each other, it seems unfair. And, well, it is unfair. And isn't that football? How many games do you go to where the winners are what we don't consider to be the best team? Or the referee makes that decision in the penalty box? That's football.
That's what makes football good.
Yeah. And I think we need to remember it's a sport. And we've had a really, really great season. And I think Gareth Ainsworth and the owner, Rob, I think have done an amazing job. And I think I'm going to leave it there. Leave your thoughts possibly underneath. The rivalry between Wycombe and Peterborough that may be being stirred, not for me. I'm not interested in that. I love watching Wycombe Wanderers. I love the football. I don't see why there needs to be any form of rivalry between them than any other team. Do you agree with that?
I think there will be, but I don't think there needs to be. But I think there will be.
But that's working on the theory we'll be in the same league as them next year. But we shouldn't be. No, we're going up.
Get an easy FA Cup tie against a lower league team. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
It would.
I'll stir the pot in the comments, won't it?
It will. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, and I'll say goodbye.